Gunalchéesh on the Kunais of one. Thank you, everyone, ladies and gentlemen, honorable people of this land, for coming. We'll get started here. Yeidikook'áa.
Yeidikook'áa duasak kix adichat city. Kachacha shayuha duasak take wedi yadi ayachat kakahit dachat city. Kagwantan dachchen ayachat. My Tlingit name is Yeidikook'áa, and it's also now the preferred name that I wish to go by. My borrowed name, which is what my late grandmother used to call our English names, is Dionne Brady Howard. And I introduced myself to you and told you that my Tlingit name is Yeidikook'áa, and I'm from the Kix'adi clan. And the women of my clan are called the Kakhatjasha, which we translate loosely to the herring ladies, but really Kakhatja is one of those beautiful indigenous words that doesn't have a direct translation into English. It refers to the way that the water looks in the spring when it's herring season and the herring have spawned in it. And the light shines down on it when we are fortunate to get the part of the crazy herring weather that is beautiful. And it looks like the water is filled with shattering glass. And so there's no real way to translate that directly into English. I'm the child of the Tekwedi and am honored to have my father's mother, my paternal grandmother, which is where my Tekwedi lineage comes from, sitting here in the front, Shakween Liz Howard. And I am also the grandchild of the Kagwantan clan. I'm here this evening on behalf of the Sitka tribe of Alaska as the vice chair for the tribe. And I just wanted to say that the celebration of Indigenous Peoples Day has been a journey in and of itself. It began with just a small group of volunteers who were interested and dedicated, and they were representing organizations from across Sitka, organizations that were deeply invested in our journey forward as a community. Whether we're looking at the growth of Indigenous Peoples Day or of the other events throughout the year that both support and honor Indigenous people, such as Every Child Matters or Orange Shirt Day, which we had just a couple weeks ago, or Reconciliation Day, which some people observe as Alaska Day, which we'll have next week, or Native American Heritage Month, which we'll be having next month, or Elizabeth Peradovich Day in February, or Missing and Murdered Indigenous Women and Girls Day coming up in May. We're seeing that growth in our community. And it's not just the growth in the size of the crowd, which increasingly ends up having more and more need for overflow, but it's also growth in the realization that all of these topics that we are here to observe, to celebrate, to honor, and sometimes also to mourn are topics that are tied to the larger topic of decolonization. We see growth in the realization that for reconciliation to happen, we must first be willing to both speak and hear the truth of colonialism and the trauma that it caused. And we've seen a growth in the people of our community being ready to have these tough conversations. And so it is with this growth in mind that I can stand here with hope on behalf of our tribe in a very, very hopeful manner for the journey forward. So we thank you for coming on to Lingít Aaní, and we welcome you all to Sitka on behalf of the tribe. And we appreciate your willingness to hear hard things and to have hard conversations. And we sincerely hope that you're willing to continue down this road, down this river, down this sound, wherever this journey takes us, so that we can continue to see this growth and grow together as Sitka. Gunalchéesh.
Good evening. My name is Paul Kraft. I'm the campus director here at the UAS Sitka campus. And on behalf of the faculty and staff of the University of Alaska Southeast Sitka campus, welcome to our campus. We're thrilled and honored to play a small role in making Indigenous Peoples Day a meaningful and enriching experience for all of us. I want to make a few remarks on behalf of the university, and I apologize in advance for any errors I might make. I do not mean to offend anyone. A few words about this building that we call UAS Sitka campus that we're in right now. Of course, it's on Lingít Aaní, Lingít land, and it was originally built as a U.S. naval operating base as part of the defense against possible Japanese invasion during World War II. After the war, the military abandoned the facility, and in 1947, it became part of a network of boarding schools, Mount Edgecombe High School. In the late 1980s, the university took possession of the building and turned it from an airplane hangar into an educational institution. While I'm proud of the faculty and the staff that work on this campus, I'm aware that I work for a Western educational system that's played a key role in bringing trauma to Native Americans and Alaska Natives, and that this trauma lingers to this day. The Western Eurocentric model of education has played a large role in assimilation and indoctrination of outside values and has punished people for speaking their own native languages. I deeply regret the part that this and other university systems had in this assimilation and former racism. And as a leader in the current university system, I apologize. In order to move forward in this journey, as our theme states, we must admit where we have missed the mark and create an environment where we can talk to each other, learn from each other, and build a path together that takes us where we want to be, where we need to be. I want to acknowledge that that UAS has benefited from Alaska Native culture as we teach about them, teaching language and artwork. I want to thank all of the Alaska Natives, Native Americans, and Indigenous people who have contributed to and shared your culture and knowledge. We appreciate your fantastically complex artwork, your traditional knowledge of this land, your Tlingit and other language orators, and your stories. We are richer, we are better, we are more effective as an educational institution because you have shared with us. I would humbly ask that you help us learn what to do to be better allies, and how to share the shaping and leading of this university and other universities with you. As an educational institution, we need to be taking a leadership role in moving not only this institution of higher education, but also this community and this region and this state in honoring and celebrating the contributions of and the cultures of the Indigenous people. I love the theme that was chosen for this event, our journey forward. Our journey forward. It's not my journey, it's not your journey, it's our journey. And we don't travel alone. And if we are to arrive at our destination, we must travel together. It's a journey. It's an adventure, an exploration, an expedition. We've not arrived and we aren't staying still. It's a journey with bumps and bruises, unexpected troubles, but exciting successes. It's our journey forward. We have a direction. It's forward. We'll remember the past and use what we learned to move forward into an exciting future. We're excited to have Congresswoman Mary Peltola with us today. We're thrilled when she accepted our invitation to join us. It's now my pleasure to introduce Crystal Duncan, who will introduce our honored guest. A few words about Crystal. In 2017, when the state of Alaska acknowledged Indigenous Peoples Day, Crystal played a significant role in hosting the first Indigenous Peoples Day celebration in this very room. Many of you were probably in attendance at that time. I want to welcome Crystal to the podium so she can introduce our honored guest speaker for the evening. Crystal.
Okay, mic check. Can you hear me okay? Whew. I came in here at 4 o'clock the room was empty. I understood there are 125 chairs. I think there are 300 people in the room. So bear with me, I'm nervous, but it's good to see all of you. Gunalchéesh for coming out. And I can't help but see that Mary is straight to the back. So I'm going to try to look off in both directions just to calm the nerves a little bit. I want to first say Gunalchéesh to Yeidikook'áa and the tribe for leading us off this evening. I know Yeidikook'áa best as my clan opposite, meaning if I tell you, take Wedi ayachat, she is take Wedi yedi. And if you know her as Kiksedi, I am Kiksedi yedi. We're opposites that offer balance and are bonded in the concept of service and obligation to our community. Her words are always powerful and meaningful. Tonight is no exception. Gunalchéesh. I would also like to thank Dr. Paul Kraft and the Sitka campus. I remember this started as a simple text from Courtney, who's off to my left. She said, I think I'd like to see if we can make Indigenous people happen this year. It took a lot of effort, but look at what they turned out. Gunalchéesh. UAS, they have been incredible hosts, and I appreciate them putting the effort forward. And I think we can all agree, it's been a lot of isolation over the last 2 years, so just to be in the same room together feels like a magical moment. Let me briefly speak to the theme, which will then allow me to adequately introduce our keynote speaker. I'll start off with a quote from an Indigenous community activist named Tracy Rector. It's a quote I often overuse and will continue to do so because it's a good one. Tracy shared, as a child, I was withdrawn and did not do well in school. None of the teachers seemed to mirror my own life experience, and I felt invisible. When we see ourselves reflected in others, there's a certain sense of acknowledgement and validation. Representation matters. Positive role models can shed light on potential paths to take in life and provide windows of hope. She continued, for those of us who had challenging upbringings, we need these lifelines and heroes. This year's theme is our journey forward. Hastu ich yan tu ut, hashukade ka hus, symbolized with a yak or canoe. Using this analogy, I will acknowledge that Mary and many others represent the person steering our journey. That position is one of the most important roles on our crew. We are lucky to have her, Kuyana. Let me further acknowledge some of us have the job of repairing the canoe, which has been damaged in the storm. These people are also vital crew members and necessary for us to continue on. Toyach sut nusam. Some of us are the strength, paddling through fatigue, battling against ocean currents, because that is how we've had to make progress. This too is an important role. Hawa for your efforts. And those of us who are so fatigued, we need to take a break. Let me point out that this is our journey together. So when you feel like you can't do it, when the storm feels too great, know that that is when your community is holding you up. Take a breath. We understand. We do. To my elders in the room, sitting in the front row here, making me real nervous. I have to point out and acknowledge that you have served in all of these rows through many, many difficult storms. And now, I know you can't look to the back, but what I see is youth. I see people who are willing to pick up the cause so that you can sit back and take a break. And to that, I have to say, Gunalchéesh Klein with all my heart, Gunalchéesh. And for each of us in the room, we can see progress that's happening on a micro level within our community, within our families, or even ourselves. And while it can feel like slow growth of that of a mighty spruce tree, it's there. We know it's happening. I'll give you an example that hits close to home. I see my niece Nyla in our forward moving journey when at her high school graduation before her classmates and an even bigger audience than this, she says as part of a larger speech, which was delivered in Tlingit, "Ach tuwuyak hashlifuhas yukatangi." I am grateful to speak my grandfather's words. Tuwukligatin yatuna yahana. Tonight we will stand before you with pride. Those are my father's words now spoken in her. Her pride ignites my pride. The next generation, they have no idea how their actions are healing to us. We've come a long way. I see it in my family, and I know you see it in yours as well. If we want to talk about an achievement on the macro level, the Indigenous people have been stewards of this land for 10,000 years. It gets better. But it was just recently, in fact, 1 month ago, that for the first time in a 233-year history, our Congress now has full representation from our 3 Indigenous nations. Sharice Davidson, an American Indian of the Ho-Chunk Nation representing Kansas. Kaili'i Kahele, a Native Hawaiian with roots from the village of Milo'i'i. And on September 13th, Mary Peltola, an Alaska Native Yupik woman, took her oath of office. I just have one paragraph left, and then we'll give her to you. She now represents all of us. I know when I watched her get sworn in, I cried. And looking at the room, I think all of us did. We know Mary has family in Sitka, as earlier this year, her daughter, who is standing next to her, decided to attend Mount Edgecombe High School and is now a fellow Brave. But we are Indigenous, so blood relative or not, she is our Aunt Mary. Can I call you Auntie? Yes. See, that's how it works. It's good to be Indigenous. You are related to everybody. She is a matriarch, and if you will, she is a hero and a lifeline to our Indigenous community. Please help me give a warm Sitka welcome to our keynote speaker, Congresswoman Mary Peltola.
Agastunga, Yupirgo, Mamtrita Miungunga, Biskupar Miungunga. I am a gossip. My Yupik name means the one who rolled. My Christian name is Mary, and both of those names I inherited from my grandmother. She passed away a few months before I was born. And it is such an honor to carry her name. And especially, you know, when you're campaigning, being the one who rolled is very advantageous, just rolling with it. But I have prepared remarks, but I just want to do a disclaimer. I am very thankful that this is Indigenous Peoples Day because, and I've said this many times, we're a diverse people with a common future. And I think it's so important that we not accentuate our differences and that we look for the commonality among us all. And I work every day to do that and give that messaging. And I am Yupik, but I'm also German American. My dad is from Nebraska. And I say that a lot because it means a lot to me. That is also half of who I am. And the universal values from farming people are very, very similar to the values that I grew up with on the Yukon-Kuskokwim Delta. But it is also very special to really acknowledge and embrace being Native. And it's nice to have this one day where I don't have to minimize that. There has been such an attempt in our American history to assimilate us, and in some cases to erase us. And I see some of those elements still there, and I really want to make sure that I am not ever part of that movement to erase us or our presence, because we are also part of this universe. We're also part of inclusion. So I just really appreciate this time to really acknowledge my Native heritage and being Indigenous and what that means to me. I also want to acknowledge being on Tlingit land. My daughter, Nora Shine Nelson in the back. Sorry, Nora. Her dad is from Yakutat and he's Tequay-Dee. And I was adopted into the Quashkikwan clan before her brother and she were born. And that means a lot to me. My Tlingit name is Yagus. And a friend of mine said, that's no fair. That's such an easy name to pronounce. And it's very similar to Agus. That's the shortened version of Agasok, my Yupik name. But I also want to recognize my husband's family. My husband is Gene Peltola Jr. and his mom is Pam C. and her family is from Sitka. Her dad was Benjamin C. Her mother was Mabel Pike. And Pam is the third daughter and the fourth child of Ben C. and Mabel Pike. And I know some of you probably know her and are related to her. And so I'm very proud to be related through marriage to those of you who know Pam and her parents. So now for my prepared remarks. Good evening and happy Indigenous Peoples Day. It is very wonderful to be here with you and really at UAS, University of Alaska Southeast. I have a long history with University of Alaska Southeast. It's where I went to school in Juneau, and that was really my foray into public policy. I was going to be a teacher and went to UAS and took advantage of their legislative internship program, and it changed my life and it changed my trajectory. And I'm very happy for that relationship that I have with UAS. And I'm so thankful that there is such a strong acknowledgement by the UAS people, University of Alaska Southeast, to really embrace the heritage that is here. Tlingit people have been learning here for thousands of years. And this is nothing new. It's not new to be learning here now. So thank you, UAS, for hosting this significant event. As we consider today's celebration, I'd like to first think back to the origin of today's competitor, the holiday of Columbus Day. As some of you know, Columbus Day began not out of a sense of patriotism or an American exceptionalism, but rather out of a desire for belonging. At that time, Italian immigrants were highly discriminated against, and following an unfortunate trend in our history, those newly accepted, eager to fit in Americans were often marginalized. In response, many Italian Americans banded together and lobbied for greater public inclusivity. Through Columbus, they sought freedom from daily inequities they experienced, and like many of us, they wanted to realize the opportunities and social advancement our country has to offer. That is why, as we consider this year's theme, our journey forward, I think it is wise that we do not forget the origins of Columbus Day. Not to elevate the wayward explorer, but out of empathy for those who sought relief by invoking him and his journey. As Indigenous people, we know a thing or two about inequity and the importance of community. Though our cultures are unique and distinctive, we are all called upon to be inclusive, to respect our differences and invest in our strengths. We know that undue marginalism marginalization of some comes at the expense of the dignity of all. As we move forward, we must remember this. As we celebrate today, Indigenous Peoples Day, we remember to stay true to ourselves and our cultures. To not let any bitterness from our past negatively impact our future. After all, we have so much to be proud of. The burgeoning success of our language revitalization efforts. I was so happy to hear so much Tlingit spoken today. It makes my heart very happy. Our world-class tribal healthcare system, our thriving Alaska Native corporations. Recently, the Alaska Business magazine published their annual list of top 49 Alaska businesses by revenue. Out of all 49 businesses represented, more than half were Alaskan-owned corporations, and out of the top 10, only one was not an Alaska Native corporation. This is amazing. And more Alaska Natives are being included in co-management of our natural resources like salmon. Last but not least, the election of the first Alaska Native Congress member in history. I know that together, collectively, we can build upon these successes. We can ensure that our lands remain rich, abundant, and prosperous. Our communities safe, accessible, and welcome, and our homes healthy and supported. This isn't rhetoric. This is a collective calling. A calling I know all of us feel to support our community's development and fully participate in our collective advancement. It's why you're all here today and why I am proud to serve you as a representative. My priorities are to ensure that we all have broadband, healthcare, and subsistence access, quality housing, education, and job opportunities, and public safety officers, flush toilets, and clean water. To make sure we have everything we need to maintain our way of life and ensure we can pass down our practices from this generation to future generations. We progress on our journey every time one of our communities gains internet access, a sewer system, a new housing stock. Every time I hear about one of our youth becoming a language learner or artisan, every time I hear a story about a honey bucket told in the past tense, every time I hear about one of our educated folks returning to one of our communities and putting their knowledge to good use. With each step we take along our journey, we ensure that our generation and those that follow hold as much pride in Indigenous Peoples Day as I hold in our Indigenous people. That this day may serve as a celebration of who we are, what we have achieved, and a reminder of what we are working towards. I know that at times it seems like we have a long way to go and not long to get there. But I know that by leveraging our strengths and wisdom, we can achieve our goals just as our ancestors did. With that, I look forward to working with you. I trust that together we can push beyond our setbacks and build a strong, inclusive, and equitable future our families deserve. Buyana Chaknachbak Gunalchéesh.
So we are going to have Noow Tlein Dance Group coming in now.
Good evening. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Noow Tlein, you can walk in. As they're walking in, I'd like to thank UAS for inviting us to be part of this special occasion, Indigenous Day of Peoples Day. We're a very proud group. A lot of dance groups in this town wear our regalia with pride. Noow Tlein was formed back in the 80s when the dancers started graduating from high school. We have quite a bit of big group, but tonight is our first night. Our first night getting together since we lost our mentor, our teacher, Bastia. Our group hasn't been out in a public performance since, so this night is really special to us. To be able to do this because we know she would want us to do it. So we got a small group together tonight to do this little presentation for you guys. I'd like to ask if we can have a moment of silence before we start our performance. Gunalchéesh for allowing us to take this small part and to acknowledge our leader. Tonight, we were asked to do our canoe series. We have 2 of our ladies. We normally have 4 to 5 in our canoe. The canoe series belongs to the lady. We don't own the rights to the story, so we will just be giving a brief introduction to the song. The first song that they'll be doing is they started like a sorrow song because they weren't sure if the ladies were going to make it under the glacier. The second song that comes right after the beat goes up. They're seeing the ladies under the glacier, and so they're happy, so it's a little bit more joyous song. So I guess without further ado, I'll go ahead and allow the song to our drummer.
Dionne. Yeidikook'áa.
Yeah. you, she would say that this wasn't enough. So we want to end on a real high note and invite you guys to stand up and take part, since this is Indigenous Peoples Day. We will be doing the Raven Peace song, and after that we will be exiting. Again, Gunalchéesh to the UAS for putting this on, and asking our dance group to come and take part in this. It's healing. It'll be healing for us as we take one step each time we do a performance. So Gunalchéesh. If I did anything wrong tonight, please forgive me. Representative Congresswoman Mary. Congressman. We're inviting you to dance up the dancers.
visiting the Aaní, it belongs to the Kaagwantan clan. Since we are all related, and so many of us are children and grandchildren of the Kaagwantan, and we take good for use of the song.